And so when those questions become the center of conversation in our communities, in our homes, in our schools, in our offices, how many of you have ever worked in an office where the central question is, what should I be afraid of today and whose fault is it? I mean, if you've ever worked, you should have your hand up. It's indicative of scarcity. So let's talk about what scarcity culture is and what it looks like. Scarcity culture, I think, is best understood with a simple question of never enough. And you can fill in the blanks. Never good enough, safe enough, certain enough, perfect enough, relevant enough. And perhaps I think one of the most dangerous and insidious messages today is never extraordinary enough. Somehow, in the world we live in today, an ordinary life has become synonymous with a meaningless life. And it has huge, and I've watched it happen not only as a researcher, I'm a qualitative researcher, so I sit across from people and look in their eyes and I have a good sense of what's going on in their lives. But as a university professor who's been teaching for the last 17 years, it's been very clear to me that extraordinary means relevant. You know, a couple of years ago, this is a terrible example, but the truth, a couple of years ago, it was huge controversy in the US because Rutgers University paid the highest honorarium it had ever paid in the history of the university to Snooki, the reality TV star of the Jersey Shore. This filters into our DNA and becomes messaging for us. And so scarcity is about never, and the top one is the big one for all of us personally, never good enough. Which is shame, which we all have on occasion, that sense that we're not smart enough, good enough, perfect enough, loved enough, promoted enough. We're not enough. So what we do in response to scarcity culture, I think all of us every day, is this. We wake up in the morning and we armor up. And we put it on and we say, I'm going to go out in the world. I'm basically just going to kick some ass. I'm not going to let anyone see who I am. And in doing so, I can protect myself against the things that hurt the most. Judgment, criticism, fear, blame, ridicule. I'm going to armor up and I'm going to be safe. And we rationalize and we convince ourselves that this armor is really smart. And we use a lot of different things to armor too. Perfectionism, intellectualizing. Truly, I have to be honest with you, before the TED Talk, which accidentally went viral, and was a total experiment, I thought, let me be vulnerable while I'm talking about vulnerability. It's a small group. How bad could it be if a few hundred people think I'm nuts? But before that talk, do you know what the name of my lecture that I gave all the time, all over? The name. Variables Mitigating Self-Conscious Affect. It never went viral. But that was my university-issued armor. If all else fails, use words that are really big, that you're quasi-sure what they mean. So we use a lot of different things to armor, right? But if you get really, really clear about what we're doing every morning when we wake up and decide to armor, it's this simple. This is what we're protecting. We're protecting being hurt for a very simple reason that no one really wants to talk about, which is this. Love, belonging, irreducible needs of men, women, and children. In the absence of love and belonging, there is always suffering. And so what we believe is that we can protect our sense of being lovable and being acceptable and being worth connection with armor. Here's the very worst news from my research. The news that above all other I did not want to hear is simply this. And I don't even want to say it to you